Welcome back to the Driven Leadership Podcast, everybody. We have been having some more guests on the podcast, which is exciting. We're moving into that new season, but this week we're back to just Eric and I at the virtual roundtable. If you haven't joined us before, what are you doing? I mean, this is the best leadership podcast on the internet.
Best one.
Yeah. So my name's Connor. I'm joined with Eric. We work with Driven. We work for in Driven Leadership. It's the company.
All of the above.
Yeah. So we're passionate about leadership, growth, development within businesses. And man, today is an interesting topic because right before we record these, one could say we should be more planned than we are for most of our podcast episodes, but we always chat through kind of what are the options, what we have an ideal board that we go through. And the one that I brought up today was about team chemistry versus team performance, which, like a lot of our topics, is nuanced. Like, well, what is the difference between chemistry and performance? How do those lead into each other? But then that led us just talking through that into a conversation about accountability and the nuances that are in accountability, and how do you actually hold somebody accountable? What does that even mean, especially within the context of business? So I don't know what this episode is going to be titled.
Well, and then we just realized, hey, we should just be having this conversation on here because I think it's valuable.
So who knows how we'll land the plan or what this episode will be titled. Obviously, listening to this, that's why you clicked on it. So jumping back to that conversation, Eric, where should we start rehashing what we were hashing?
A train of thought that we were having was, so you brought up the team chemistry versus team performance. So for me, when I look at that, and for years being in this industry, I focused on chemistry, and we could get these teams that were just really love each other, care about each other, and support each other. And we would see performance improve, but a lot of times I was like, man, it's not at the level I would expect performance to improve, especially in the early days.
Right.
And I started realizing very quickly, especially with the athletic teams, man, this shows up when we work with especially a female athletic team. You drive for care and support and all those things because they do it really well, but then they struggle when it comes to holding people to high performance because now that they're friends and I want to be liked and I don't want to hurt feelings. And there's this whole, now I care so much. It would really hurt me to tell you suck today, And so, but what it did is, and there's this journey we went on with this, is that it became very clear that team chemistry still had a very heavy me piece to it. Even though you go, we're all about the team. We live and die for each other. We're all about each other. But the I part is, am I accepted in this tribe? And am I a part of this group? And I don't want to do things to rock the boat that will expel me from that acceptance.
Which is a very human trait.
Well, of
when
course.
You get included in the group, you don't want to then exclude yourself by being a dick.
But it's real. I mean, this happens everywhere. So you got these companies or teams that they don't really have the team chemistry. They don't like each other, and they're driven by performance metrics. And it's like, we got to hit our metrics. And a business needs to hit its metrics to perform.
For sure.
And so that's why that's usually front and center. We got to hit the metrics. But what comes out of it is you'll never get to the top tier metrics unless you also have team chemistry. So you can get performance. And most companies, EOS always says most businesses are running on 20% of capacity.
Yeah.
In my experience, it's true. You get in there and it's like, gosh, the way they work together, the accountability, the discipline to follow through, and the care to want to. So there's this combination of both is important. But I do think performance actually comes first. That's why a lot of companies get that. Are we driving performance and outcomes? And then from there, do we really care about each other, and are we producing the chemistry, the camaraderie, and the things that help us go from whatever percentage of capacity up into some of the bigger, huge gains that can take place. But then that led us into, okay, so if we're going to go after performance, then that means we got to go after accountability was a word that came up. And go ahead. Yeah.
And the whole, from what I've seen, in certain companies when the chemistry is high. And again, there's it all comes with the caveat of like the performance is still there, they're still executing, but when the chemistry is high, the accountability tends to be on the lower side. Would you agree with that?
Because of what we were just talking about. It's not
Yeah.
always. It's crazy because you want to talk about a real high performance team, business or athletics or wherever, high performance team. They are tight because they run so hard together.
Yeah.
It's like you take a SEAL team, they're not sitting there wanting to be liked. We're going to execute, and then they have the relationships that back them so that they know each other and know their instinct. They know everything about each other.
Yeah.
So it's just a lot of times business, man, we're not in business thinking about how the team chemistry and how that correlates to performance, or a lot of companies aren't.
Right.
But anyway, yeah. But you go back to accountability. The conversation was so for years I've been looking at accountability. I'm like, man, you can't hold someone accountable. You can control someone into doing something. You can sit on their head until they do what you need them to do. But sorry, sit on your head is probably bad. But the reality, I mean, you're in a space where, okay, heavy control, autocratic leadership. I'm going to get them to do what they want. Well, there's almost no point in having somebody else do it. The manager might as well do the job at that point. And the purpose here is you're supposed to have the managers working with a group of people and helping them excel higher than they would without that manager. Not the manager jumps in and they're one of the group just doing the job.
Yeah.
So accountability to me is very personal. It's about discipline. It's a personal thing. Am I going to be accountable to what I said? Am I going to follow through? Am I going to have the discipline to do what I say and consistently do it?
Yeah.
And then as a manager, it gets into either supporting, encouraging, helping them accomplish that kind of, hey, what can I do to support you and help you? What's in your way? What's keeping you from getting there? What are the barriers? Where do you need training? We're in that space of how do we support and help you to accomplish your goals? Or we're on the other side, which is there's some version of consequence. It's more of a disciplinary action, And so when we have consequences, most people think accountability is the discipline and the consequences. And it's just not. That's the reaffirming and of setting boundaries, and that's discipline and consequences. The other is support and encouragement. So I've always struggled with this word accountability and how it applies to what we're doing.
Well, I think you're absolutely right. Like the accountability only is talked about in terms of like, you're going to mess up and I'm going to make sure that I'm there to remind you and then give you a consequence of maybe a predetermined, agreed upon consequence of the thing that you messed up on.
Or a surprise consequence.
Or a surprise consequence for something that you maybe didn't know that you weren't supposed to mess up. And then you did. And it's like, well, we can't let that happen again. So something has to happen. So they feel it. Welcome to parenting also. But I think the thing that's missed a lot, and it's actually, we're covering this in upcoming summit classes. One of the companies that's going through it is this model. And I don't know if we've talked a lot about the ESRC model, but for me, everything that you're talking about, the ESRC model fixes in a business sense to some degree, with a lot of other caveats. But the ESRC model is expectations, skills, resources, and consequences. So it's everything that you said should be wrapped up in it. And it really just kind of gives this weightiness to, or at least a little bit more texture to what accountability is when you talk about it as a manager or a leader, where accountability then shifts from becoming like, okay, my job is not just to give consequences and to hold people's hand and to discipline others when they mess up. But you back up to the beginning of this model. And at the very beginning, a manager's role is to set what the expectations are very clearly. It's to provide skills, and that's the S. So you train them. You don't hold their hand, but you train them. You walk through the processes. You make sure they have everything they need. The resources is more that part, like SOPs, making sure they can actually function within this system of expectations and skills that you're requiring of them. And if you do those three things properly in this accountability system, then the consequences is just the natural order of it, instead of it being the end all be all. and the consequences are set up front. It's a well-established thing. Everybody knows and agrees to them when they join your team. But that's the model that I've seen more in business actually be productive, rather than, like, we're going to set goals this week. If you don't do your goal, then you have to get up on top of the picnic table in the parking lot and sing "I'm a Little Teapot."
Wow. Well, we do,
I've never I've never seen that happen.
We can institute that. We only do that on our summit meetings, but
so that's the model that I think is more apt to this whole, like, especially accountability within a business setting.
Yeah. So when we're talking about team performance, okay, so all this looping back. So we're saying, hey, team performance typically is the first thing that we focus on, but the reality is you can focus on both at the same time. So if we're focusing on team performance and using team performance to drive team chemistry, then, and especially if we have the right team, if we have the right team that wants to perform together, and the accountability starts to become, I want to be part of this group. I want to, I've never been an Olympian. Okay. But if you can imagine being part of the Olympics, and you're one of those, you're part of Team USA walking out there, or whatever country, you're like, I want to not only perform for me and what I'm doing and being an expert in this role and this skill, but I want to perform for all these awesome people that I get to work around who are also high performance. Yeah. The expectation to be in this group is so high, and I'm here. Right? You got hired into this company. The expectation is you're a high performer. You're excellent at what you do. Yeah. How do you crush it and take that to another level? And then you're raising the bar of everybody else. That's a different thing. And then we get excited. Somebody outperforms us. It drives us to perform more, not kind of what the problem is. What most companies are doing, though, is they're dealing with complacency, mediocrity, all of these kind of, like, I'm going through the day to day because I signed up to work for the next 40 years doing the exact same thing over and over again. And I don't have the autonomy. I don't feel like I'm going anywhere. I get frustrated. And when I'm in that spot, then it's really hard to attach to high performance and team chemistry, because I'm doing everything I can to survive the day. Right. And so now we get into what culture do you have? Because the culture is driving that. Yeah. So looping all this together, if I'm going after this, you can take this concept that we're talking about, this SROC, right? Mm-hmm. What are the expectations? And then, as those are the expectations, as the reward system that's built around that organization, are they connected with that? Do you have the skills and the abilities to do this thing, said thing, whatever it is? Mm-hmm. Are you clear what the outcome is at the end? Are you going to get there? Like, all these, yes, there are goals that are set, but are we doing all this work around to make sure we're all on the same page? And here's the thing. When you think you are, I'm willing to bet 75% of the time you're not. Okay.
When you think you're clear on this stuff, is that what you mean?
Yeah, I just feel like I can't tell you how many times I've been talking to a leader and they're like, I don't get it. I told them exactly what to do. I set expectations. I told them this is what it's going to look like at the end. I walk out of the meeting and I go, well, and it doesn't happen, or something completely different happens, or who knows what happens. And they go, I don't get it. Yeah. And then it comes back to, they heard it one time. They weren't clear. You did one-way communication. There's all these different things that go on.
And a lot of times within the SROC model, people set the expectations very clearly, and then they skip to the consequences. And it's like, well, I gave them the expectations. They know what the consequences are. I don't know why they didn't do it. And then that's when you dive into, okay, well, do they just point blank have the skills to do what you're asking them to do? And it's not a fun time when that answer is no, but you can build on that. You can train people. You can do that. And then the resource is a big one too. Is like, do they actually have in front of them what they need to do? And then you can really break down, like, okay, well, then that's just not what they're doing. And it removes the ambiguity of, I don't know how I'm always setting expectations, but I'm always giving out consequences and I don't know what to do. So it gives a lot more, like I said, texture to the whole system when you add in that skills piece and the resources piece.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but that's on the performance side. So roadmap to performance, clear expectations? Do we have the skills and all the things? Do we know what it's going to look like on the back end? Have the resources to accomplish it? Are we on the same page? And then execute. And we're checking in if it's a longer period of time or whatever's going on.
And
I missed anything there in this arc?
You're saying that's the roadmap from a team that has high chemistry to increasing their performance.
I'm saying that's the side. They may have high chemistry. They don't have to use SROC or to just in general create an accountability system.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but I am saying if you want to get more accountable results, it helps. That's it. Go back to EOS. EOS is not that you're not holding someone accountable. What you're doing is all your data is up on a scoreboard every single week.
Yeah.
And it's like, that thing's holding you accountable because everybody can see, are you performing or are you not? Are you getting it done or are you not?
Consequences in and of itself to be publicly put on blast.
But I mean, that too. But I mean, we're agreeing, we're going in and I'm saying, I'm going to accomplish this thing. Mm-hmm. And then we put it up there and then we got 3 months to work towards it. That's called a ROC in EOS. And it creates by looking at it weekly and going, hey, Connor, how you doing with that? And you have to, on there, you have to go, we're on track. We're off track. Mm-hmm. I suck. You gotta, you gotta kind of own up to it on a weekly basis. And just the check-ins, the visibility, the metrics, all the things that go with it, create the accountability that we're looking for and drive it down. That's an example of it. SROC does it as well. Yeah. When you're using the tool and working with it. Now we go over to this team chemistry side. So my belief is that when done well, you can use both of these. You can go after performance and you can use the performance to create chemistry. Mm-hmm. So that's not always the case. Sometimes we're in a place where we're getting a performance level that is okay, but the chemistry really stinks. Mm-hmm. And when that's the case, we got to look at what's going on. So usually the chemistry isn't going that well because the interpersonal communication skills, authenticity, the vulnerability, the relational piece, specifically with the manager and direct report, is usually lower than required to create some team chemistry. So if I never get to where I feel safe in a culture, if I'm never, we use psychological safety and all these terms, but what I mean by safe is like, I can be me. I can say something goofy or whatever it is, or I can be wrong, or I can challenge you on your opinion. I mean, all these things. Well, I used a bunch of negative examples there. I could be right.
Be an idiot at work and everybody's fine with it.
Well, you could be an idiot, not all the time. I mean, you could be an idiot, or you could be correct and have different ideas. And
you can be assertive.
Is it an environment where I can work within that or anywhere in that spectrum? But can I bring my skills and talents and abilities, my personality, the human side of this to the table? And does my direct management and peers, do they accept that? Do we work together with that? Or is it like most companies, and it's definitely the bigger companies, is that's the way we are here on the surface. And then everything that's underneath has layers to it and has politics to it and has sidebar meetings where, we're no longer talking about them and we're doing all these things. And what happens is team chemistry drops as soon as one person does that. So if you and I, Connor, are sitting here talking about Kyla, who's not on this call today, okay, and we're talking about Kyla and we're saying, Kyla, I don't know, she's something. I don't know. She's a bad driver. I don't know. I'm looking at as innocuous a thing I could
not applicable to our business at all. But yeah.
She's from Hawaii. She might be a bad driver. They don't drive as much. So I hope Kyla hears this.
They just surf from place to place. That's the stereotype, right?
let Kyla know she was in here and she's going to yell at me and tell me she's a good driver. So, but if we're sitting there talking smack about her or whatever it is, and then somebody else, let's say Mary overhears that conversation, well, the immediate assumption, even if they join into the conversation, the immediate assumption is, oh, they're doing that everywhere. So we're all talking smack about each other, and instantly the trust of the entire organization goes down. It's like, I better be careful what I say.
Yeah,
I better be careful what I do. So gossip's a huge killer to team chemistry, and pretty dominant out there. It's just one example, but team chemistry is one of these things that it starts with the relationship between the manager and the employee. And I feel like I'm just talking nonstop, Connor. So what are your thoughts on that?
No, you're good. I think you've really like dialed in. It's a very simple one, but thinking about teams that they're high performance, they want to improve their team chemistry. It sounds maybe too low level, but I think communication is absolutely one. In one of our other classes, the lead speak class, we actually talk about this where it's like, what's the DNA of connectivity on a team? And we've drilled it down in that class to being people, results, and purpose. You have to be connected to one or all of those things. And how do you connect within those three dynamics? And in the people one, communication is the one that either will strengthen a team or weaken a team. And literally what you were just saying, when you have low communication, or if the communication itself is poor, whether in frequency or tone, then you will naturally create silos within your business. And I've worked on teams that were fully remote, and I mean fully remote, like we didn't even have cameras on. Like I never saw the faces of the people that I worked with.
That sounds brutal.
It was interesting. Not the worst for someone like me who's like naturally an introvert. I'm like, yeah, whatever, that's fine. After a while, though, it does create this silo effect where you can be close with them. You're on calls with them. You hear their tone. You hear their stuff. Most of the communication is just through text, right? So through Slack or email or whatever. And it just naturally creates this siloing effect. In that company, it was me as a silo. But then how many other companies can you think of that they've created departmental silos because the communication exists just within that small pocket of people rather than being influenced positively from the top, from the managers, from the leadership, and setting an example from that point of view. So I think you've really, absolutely. I mean, gossip and communication sound like low level one, but if you're struggling in those areas, your chemistry absolutely as a team is going to be negatively impacted.
I think there's some, as I'm listening to you talk, there's just some piece to acceptance is what it comes down to me. Like the chemistry is, am I accepted for who I am? And in most businesses, the answer is no. I'm accepted for what I produce. Mm-hmm. I'm accepted for whatever professional behavior in here is. But, if I'm into watching Game of Thrones and that's not accepted here, then I don't talk about Game of Thrones. You know what I mean? Like it's not now I'm not talking about, okay, they come in and they, kick puppies on the weekend. I get it. Okay. But I am saying, I don't know where my mind's all over.
That was a crazy example off the dome. Yeah.
But I'm just saying, right? Do you accept everybody for everything? No, you don't. There's moral and ethical lines. But at the end of the day, have I found my people? Have I found my environment? And when we feel that and we feel connected to it, we start protecting it and working towards it and want it to succeed and want it to perform instead of I'm over here working on this business. I'm a part of this. I'm a part of this team.
Yeah.
So, and the place to start. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh no, you were saying the place to start.
But there's just the two biggest factors as to whether people get through that barrier. Number one is how they're onboarded. And number two is their relationship with their manager. And I say these because I don't know who's listening to this, but I got to tell you, 90% at least, these are my own kind of over the years, 90% of companies are terrible at onboarding. They're horrible at it. They're so bad at it. And it's like people come in and there's no training program. It's like, hey, you're going to be there. Read that document, answer the phone. Good luck. Yeah. And it's like, anyway, so what were you going to say?
I was going to say, and it kind of leads into that, but for me, it's like, and maybe it's just my personality of it all, but I really think with this whole being connected and being authentic and being a part of the team, in order to increase chemistry on a team, for me, it goes back to the accountability conversation and the ESRC model, because if you have, it's kind of like the onboarding thing. If you have just this open-ended performance standard or this open-ended expectations, but you have very clear and outlined consequences, then your chemistry on a team is absolutely going to suffer, because no one is going to feel confident enough to really sink into their work, or to go the extra mile, or to do the extra thing, because they don't even really know if that's expected, or they may not have the
Yeah.
skills or the resources to be able to do it. And so I've seen companies, and even like really small teams, like literally at like nonprofit food bank situations, where they're struggling maybe with performance, or just the overall functionality of the business, and going through the steps of accountability, because the first step is setting clear expectations. It does miles worth of work just in that step alone, and then you add skills, and then you add resources. So you're doing all these things to build people up, to bolster them in their role. And all that work is making sure, like, I want you to perform the best, I want you to perform the best, I want you to do the best at your role. Here's expectations, here's skills, here's more resources. You don't have enough, here's more, let me see what I can do. And then it's consequences. So consequences is 25% of the conversation, and the consequences aren't always just you get fired or whatever. Like, there's actual there's responsible consequences involved. And so for me, it's weird, how we started talking about all this with performance and chemistry in the beginning, and then talking about accountability. We actually were talking, the other title we were playing around with was accountability without shame. But it's interesting how they do lock together, where accountability is kind of a fundamental piece of both of these, in performance and in chemistry.
I just think I used to think accountability. I spent way too much time thinking about accountability, to be honest. And but I used to think within business, accountability was actually pretty hard to create. And the reality is, accountability, first of all, again, is more of a self thing in my mind. Just, we're getting into semantics on the words, but to create an accountable culture where people follow through, what most leaders do is they go, I have the wrong people, and therefore they're not accountable.
Yeah.
And I vehemently disagree with that. Now, is that true in some cases? I'm sure it is.
100%.
But it usually is the environment, the leadership, all the things that go with this, the visibility around what's going on, setting it, all the things we've been talking about, setting expectations, the follow through, all the things. And again, most leaders don't want to sit there and go, what can I do to start creating this? And the ones that do, it's not crazy hard to get to. It's not. You just have to get good at the communication part on the front end. You have to get good at having tools to where they can have visibility and transparency on those things that they're working from. And then it becomes a different thing. It's, instead of the discipline consequence side, it really is about supporting them and helping them soar. It's about getting them the right training. It's about getting them around the right people. And then they're excited about it because they feel supported. They know what the boundaries are. They know the expectation. And yes, they know the consequences if they don't hit it. But at the same time, they're usually not hitting the consequences. They're freaking out if the consequences are coming up. They're like, oh God, what can I do? And I'm going to fix this. How do I do it?
Yeah.
And we all want that employee. We'll go the extra mile for them.
Yeah. Well, and at least there's that language that's baked in, then, to where it's like, they're coming to you. It's like, hey, I need more resources. It's like, well, I mean, who's not gonna, now, again, that's not an easy thing. Like, if you start, implementing this, and then people start like, yeah, I've been saying for years, we need this training and this training and this thing and this thing. It's like, well, you can either not do those things and continue where you are, or you actually implement those, and then that becomes a part of the accountability system. And you create this whole training, you put people through it, and there's still gaps. It's like, okay, well, what's going on? Or is it now you start the cycle back over again? Am I just not setting the expectations right? Do they not have the skills to do this? I just created this resource, so I know they have it. Is there something else missing? And you go through this whole cycle where really the consequences end up being low performance as on a manager side, like, because you have the consequences of your employees. It becomes low performance, and you just go through the cycle over and over again until you have a really robust accountability culture of accountability on your team.
Last piece. I don't know if we're winding this up or not, but the last piece I want to hit is what I think often small business does well is the chemistry side and suffers with the performance side and the accountability and the ability to see what's going on. And then as it gets bigger, they get the systems and they have the performance side and people can see what's going on and there's the accountability, what's going on. And we drift away from the chemistry side.
Yeah.
And there are these unicorn companies that get both. They're the ones. Now, the bigger the company, usually great relationships are sporadic based on the leaders that are working.
Right.
But when they get really good at hiring and training great leadership, then the end result is you start getting the chemistry. You already have the systems, in most cases, the systems that help performance happen. What you need is the buy-in and the inner drive and the motivation and the excitement to come in and fight for the people besides themselves, to be more than a me culture, to be a we culture. Yeah. And I don't know why this keeps hitting in my head, so I'm going to tell the story real quick. I was at a client recently, and it was kind of a big meeting that was going on. And somebody said, we're not clear on the vision. And when they said that, the CEO responded with, you don't need to know more about the vision, was kind of where they came from. Yeah. And the reason I'm bringing that up is because while that's a little different than this, is you want team chemistry, all these things start to matter. If they don't know where they're going, then they're going to do their best. Even if they're engaged and you got good team chemistry, now they're going all over the place. So not to bring in another element, I'm simply stating in that meeting,
EOS, you mean?
Well, I mean, that's EOS. Yeah. Have a good vision, do all that stuff. But actually in this case, it was the response, of, you don't need to know where we're going. Yeah. And it still hits me. I still think about that. I'm like, why? Like, why would you not focus in and have your team know? But I find this is where leadership impacts performance, is that now if that leader had said instead, maybe they don't know where they're going. Maybe they're not clear on it. Maybe that's where they are. That's probably not the best answer either. Yeah. But going, you know what? You're right. I got to do a better job at communicating this. And rather than just shoot from the hip right now and cover things, I'm going to detail this out and I'm going to get it back to you. Give me just a little bit of time. And I'm going to have that in front of you because you deserve that. Yeah. That's a different response than you don't need to know. Now, maybe they do know it and they don't think they need to know. How they said it, they could have done a lot better. They shut down the group in that moment. They shut down and the group's kind of like, what do you mean we don't need to know? What's going on? Yeah. So anyway, hard to hold people accountable when they don't know where they're going.
Well, that is the other piece of, that DNA thing that I was talking about earlier with the connecting to purpose. And I'm looking at what we had put on here because we created all these graphs. But it's literally what you said. So if you have, if people are, because in that group they were connected to the, and this happens a lot, and we do this organizational 360 where we come into companies and we interview everybody. And one of the questions in there is like, tell me about the vision or the vision, the goal of the company, right? I want to say 100%. I wouldn't be statistically accurate. So hyperbolically, 100% of people say they outline what the vision is, and then you say, "Cool, tell me more about that." And they go, "Well,
grow,
we're gonna get bigger."
Yeah, that's everybody's vision. We're gonna get bigger to grow, like, get bigger.
Okay. And so in this company that you're referencing was the same way. Everybody, they believe in what they understand to be the vision. Yeah. But when there's low connection, when there's low chemistry, to use the language of this episode, there's frustration because you have people wanting to row in the same direction. They just want a compass. But hey, come on, just give me where, and I'll go. I'm motivated. I believe in it. I'll do it. Just give me something to look at and I'll do it. And I think that stuff, that was the feeling in that group of, it's like, oh, well, now we're either frustrated or now they're just completely disconnected. So it's interesting. That is a really good tie-in to wrap it all up.
Yeah. It was vision versus, so it is in the same ballpark, but yeah.
Well, it's fantastic. Look, I still don't know what we're going to title the episode. Something about chemistry and performance probably makes the most sense. But
for those on YouTube, is this the first one I've done with a beard?
I don't think so. No, you've had it for a while.
I don't know. We need to name this thing. It needs a name.
Is that Is that
Yeah,
part of
we got
it?
we got named the beard.
Oh man, I don't know why Jeffrey comes to mind first.
What?
Is it a what kind of name are you thinking?
Okay.
Like a
Everything in the news is Jeffrey Epstein. Where are you going with this? What? Like, asshole, what are you saying?
Oh my gosh, I didn't pick up that at all. Dang it!
Yeah,
Okay.
edit this.
Well, maybe Maxwell.
Other things I would say, we're gonna leave it alone. Maybe we don't need to name it. Maybe it's not as epic as I think it should be.
I think you need at least another maybe like 2 or 3 inches of growth on it before it gets in.
Mary won't let me go there. This is as far as I get. This is it. She told me this part is too thick now. I gotta do something.
Well, then if we find a name, it'll just have to have a prelude of little.
Oh.
So Lil Jeffrey.
Perfect.
Go ask ChatGPT.
Yeah, I will. Chat, name my beard. Anyway.
Well, thanks for joining us this week, everybody. We gave you a peek behind the curtain to know that this is just a fun place for us to come and flesh these things out. I hope you learned something. Go implement SROC. If you need help, let us know. We'll put you through a whole course, a 6-week course. A whole course on, not accountability, but communication. We have a course on communication, and SROC's a huge part of it, as we've proved here today. So go forth and be loved by those who love you. We'll see you next week, everybody.
I feel like I need a Star Trek symbol at the end of this. Like, go forth and prosper.
Exactly.
Anyway,
Thanks.
Bye, everybody.